What if I told you that a coin worth just 5 cents could spark rumors of a $6 million treasure? Sounds impossible, right? Yet across the internet, stories continue to circulate about an ordinary-looking 1986 Jefferson nickel that might be hiding extraordinary value. Some people claim certain examples are worth fortunes. Others insist these stories are exaggerated myths. But the truth behind this coin is far more fascinating than most people realize. Because sometimes, the real treasure isn't the coin everyone notices. It's the one millions of people overlook. To understand why collectors still search for the 1986 Jefferson Nickel, we need to travel back to the mid-1980s. America was experiencing a period of economic growth. Personal computers were beginning to enter homes. Popular culture was changing rapidly. And at the Denver Mint, workers were producing millions upon millions of nickels destined for everyday circulation. The coin featured one of the most recognizable figures in American history, Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was not only the third president of the United States but also the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. His influence helped shape the nation, making him a fitting choice for one of America's most enduring coin designs. On the front of the coin, Jefferson's portrait faced left, based on a design created by sculptor Felix Schlag. On the reverse appeared Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate, a symbol of American architecture, innovation, and history. At first glance, there seemed to be nothing unusual about the 1986 nickel. In fact, it was one of the most common coins produced during that era. The Denver Mint struck more than 663 million Jefferson nickels in 1986. That's hundreds of millions of coins entering circulation across the country. With such a massive mintage, how could anyone imagine one being worth millions? That's where the story takes an interesting turn. Coin collecting is filled with surprises. Sometimes a coin becomes valuable because very few were made. Other times, value comes from a mistake, a tiny production error,
a misplaced mint mark,
an unusual strike, a rare die variety. These small imperfections can transform an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. And that's exactly why treasure hunters continue examining 1986 nickels today. Most examples are worth only face value or a small premium. But a tiny number possess characteristics that make collectors stop and look closer. Imagine finding a coin in your pocket change and discovering something unusual under magnification. A dramatic strike error. An off-centered design.
Eddy crack.
A doubled feature. Suddenly, that ordinary nickel becomes a mystery waiting to be solved. And collectors love mysteries. Over the decades, numerous stories have emerged about rare coins selling for astonishing amounts of money. Some stories are true. Others become exaggerated as they spread from person to person. The claim that a standard 1986 Jefferson nickel is worth $6 million falls into that category. To date, there is no verified public record of a normal 1986 Jefferson nickel selling for anything close to $6 million. But don't stop listening yet. Because the real story may be even more interesting. The reason these rumors survive is that the coin market occasionally produces shocking results. Rare coins have sold for hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars when extraordinary circumstances align. A unique error, exceptional preservation, historical significance, intense competition among wealthy collectors. When all these factors come together, prices can skyrocket. So while a typical 1986 nickel isn't a $6 million coin, collectors know that unusual examples can still command impressive premiums. And that's what keeps the hunt alive. Think about it. Every year, countless people search beaches for lost treasure. Others explore abandoned buildings hoping to uncover forgotten history. Coin collectors conduct their treasure hunts in a different way. They search through jars, piggy banks, old drawers, inherited collections, and pocket change. The thrill comes from possibility. The possibility that everyone else missed something. The possibility that an ordinary object has an extraordinary story. The 1986 nickel perfectly captures that feeling. Millions were made. Millions were spent.
Millions disappeared into circulation.
Yet somewhere among those countless coins may still exist remarkable specimens waiting to be discovered. What makes high-grade examples especially interesting is their condition. Most coins enter circulation immediately and begin collecting scratches, dents, and wear. But some escape that fate. Perhaps they were saved in rolls. Perhaps they sat untouched in a collection for decades. Perhaps someone recognized their potential from the beginning. When a coin survives in nearly perfect condition, collectors take notice. Professional grading services evaluate coins using detailed standards, and tiny differences in preservation can create dramatic differences in value. A common coin in average condition might be worth only a few cents. The same coin in exceptional mint state condition could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars to the right buyer. That reality surprises many people. After all, how can condition matter so much? Imagine two identical classic cars. One is rusty and damaged. The other looks exactly as it did when it left the factory. Which one would collectors want? Coins operate under the same principle. Preservation matters. Rarity matters. Demand matters. And when those factors intersect, remarkable things happen. Another fascinating aspect of the 1986 Jefferson Nickel is its connection to a design that remained part of American life for generations. For decades, Americans carried Jefferson Nickels without giving them much thought. They bought snacks, paid parking meters, made phone calls from pay phones, dropped nickels into vending machines. These small coins became silent witnesses to everyday history. Every scratch tells a story. Every worn edge represents countless transactions. Every coin passed through unknown hands and traveled unknown distances. Who carried it? A student? A soldier? A shop owner? A traveler crossing the country? We'll never know. And perhaps that's part of the magic. Coins are historical artifacts disguised as everyday objects. They connect us to people we've never met and moments we'll never see. That connection helps explain why coin collecting remains so popular. Collectors aren't just acquiring metal. They're preserving stories. They're holding history. They're protecting tiny pieces of the past. As the years pass, surviving examples of older coins naturally become harder to find in circulation. Many are lost. Many are damaged. Many disappear into collections. That gradual disappearance creates another layer of intrigue surrounding coins like the 1986 nickel. Will future generations still find them in pocket change? Or will they become increasingly difficult to encounter outside collections? Only time will tell. And that's why collectors continue searching. Not because every 1986 nickel is worth a fortune. Not because every rumor is true. But because every search carries the possibility of discovery. The next great find could be hiding anywhere. Inside a forgotten coin jar, at a flea market, in a family inheritance, or perhaps in the change sitting on a kitchen counter right now. The story of the 1986 Jefferson Nickel reminds us of something important. Value isn't always obvious. Sometimes the most ordinary objects inspire the greatest curiosity. Sometimes myths lead people to uncover real history, and sometimes a simple 5-cent coin can spark a treasure hunt that lasts for decades. So the next time you receive a nickel, take a closer look. Examine the date. Check the mint mark. Study the details. Because while you probably won't find a $6 million coin, you might discover something even better. A connection to history, a fascinating story, and the excitement of a hunt that never truly ends. After all, every legendary treasure begins with someone willing to look a little closer. And who knows? Your next coin might have a story waiting to be told. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of hidden treasures and collectible coins, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and tell us the most interesting coin you've ever found. And remember, sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't buried underground. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight. What if I told you that a coin worth just 5 cents could be hiding in a jar, a drawer, or even in your pocket right now? And that some people believe certain Jefferson Nickels could be worth a fortune. It sounds impossible. After all, how could a small coin that millions of Americans used to buy candy, soda, or a morning newspaper suddenly become the center of a treasure hunt? Yet every year, collectors search through rolls of nickels hoping to find that one extraordinary coin. And among the dates that often spark curiosity is the 1992 Jefferson Nickel. Today, we're uncovering the fascinating story behind this coin, separating fact from fiction, and exploring why so many people continue searching for valuable nickels decades after they were minted. To understand the 1992 nickel, we need to travel back to the early 1990s. The Cold War had ended. Personal computers were becoming more common. The internet was still largely unknown to most Americans. It was a time of change, innovation, and optimism. At the same time, the United States Mint was quietly producing millions of coins for everyday commerce. Among them was the 1992 Jefferson Nickel, struck at the Denver Mint. At first glance, there seems to be nothing special about it. The front of the coin features Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers and the third president of the United States. Jefferson was not only a political leader but also a philosopher, diplomat, architect, and the author of the Declaration of Independence. His portrait had appeared on the nickel since 1938, making him one of the longest-running figures in American coinage history. Turn the coin over, and you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home. Monticello wasn't simply a residence. It was Jefferson's personal masterpiece, a place where architecture, science, agriculture, and creativity came together. For decades, Americans carried miniature images of this historic building in their pockets without giving it much thought. And that is what makes coins so fascinating. They are tiny pieces of history hiding in plain sight. The 1992 Jefferson Nickel was struck in enormous numbers. The Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of them, ensuring there would be enough nickels for commerce across the nation. Because of this massive production, most 1992 nickels are common today. In circulated condition, they're usually worth exactly 5 cents. Not $50, not $5,000, and certainly not $2 million. So why does the coin continue attracting attention? The answer lies in a powerful combination of hope, rarity, and human curiosity. Coin collectors know that sometimes the most ordinary coins can become extraordinary because of mistakes. A tiny error during production can transform a common coin into something remarkably valuable. Imagine two coins produced on the same day in the same mint by the same machines. One enters circulation and remains worth face value forever. The other develops a rare mint error and becomes a prized collector's item. That possibility keeps treasure hunters searching. Throughout American coin history, mint errors have created legendary discoveries. Off-center strikes, double dies, clipped planchets, wrong metal strikes, and dramatic die cracks have all captured the attention of collectors. Could a rare 1992 nickel with an unusual error be worth significant money? Absolutely. Could it be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars if the error is dramatic enough and authenticated? In some cases, yes. But finding such a coin is exceptionally rare. And that's where the mystery begins. Every year, stories spread across the internet claiming that ordinary pocket change could be worth life-changing amounts of money. Some headlines promise million-dollar nickels. Others suggest hidden treasures are everywhere. These stories spread quickly because they tap into something universal. The dream of discovering treasure. The idea that fortune could be sitting unnoticed in a coffee can full of coins. The possibility that a routine trip to the grocery store could lead to an incredible discovery. Humans have always loved treasure hunts. From buried pirate gold to lost royal jewels, we are naturally drawn to stories of hidden wealth. Coin collecting captures that same excitement. Because unlike many treasures, coins are accessible. Anyone can search for them. You don't need a ship. You don't need a treasure map. Sometimes all you need is patience. What makes the Jefferson Nickel series especially interesting is that it contains many genuinely valuable coins. Collectors pursue wartime silver nickels from World War II. They search for key dates and rare varieties. They examine coins under magnification, looking for tiny details invisible to the naked eye. The thrill isn't just about money. It's about discovery. Imagine holding a coin that millions of people overlooked. Imagine spotting a rare feature that others missed. Imagine uncovering a small piece of American history hidden among ordinary change. That feeling is priceless. The 1992 D nickel also represents an era before the dramatic redesigns that would later change American coinage. For many Americans, the Monticello nickel became a familiar companion throughout daily life. It passed through cash registers, vending machines, lunch counters, and countless pockets. Each coin traveled its own unique journey. Some remained in circulation for decades. Others ended up in collections. Some were lost and rediscovered years later. Think about that for a moment. The nickel sitting in your collection today may have crossed dozens of states. It may have been carried by students, workers, travelers, and families. It may have witnessed countless ordinary moments in American life. Coins are silent storytellers. They preserve history not through words but through survival. And sometimes survival creates rarity. A perfectly preserved 1992 D nickel is much harder to find than a worn one. Collectors place tremendous value on condition. Two coins with the same date can have dramatically different values depending on how well they were preserved. A flawless coin with strong luster and minimal marks can attract serious attention from collectors. That is one reason some modern coins sell for surprisingly high prices at auction. Not because they are rare by mintage, because they are rare in exceptional condition. And that brings us back to the million-dollar question. Could a 1992 D Jefferson Nickel be worth $2 million? Based on current known market information, the answer is no for a normal example. No regular 1992 D Jefferson Nickel has established a verified market value anywhere close to that amount. But the fascination remains because coin collecting is filled with surprises. New discoveries happen. Previously unknown errors emerge. Unique specimens occasionally surface. Collectors continue searching because history has proven that remarkable finds are possible. Perhaps that is the real lesson behind the story. The value of coin collecting isn't measured only in dollars. It's measured in curiosity, in learning, in exploration, in the excitement of looking closely at something others ignore. The next time you receive change, take a moment to examine it. Look beyond the metal. Look beyond the denomination. Ask yourself where that coin has been. Who carried it? What stories could it tell? Because every coin, even an ordinary 1992 D Jefferson Nickel, is a survivor from another moment in history. And while it may not be worth $2 million, it carries something equally fascinating. A connection to the past. A story waiting to be discovered. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found an unusual coin in your pocket change? Do you own a 1992 D Jefferson Nickel? And if someone handed you a jar filled with old coins right now, would you search through every single one looking for treasure? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden stories, rare coins, and incredible discoveries from the world of numismatics, make sure you subscribe and join us for the next treasure hunt. Because the next great coin discovery could be sitting in someone's pocket at this very moment, waiting to be found. I want you to imagine something for a moment. What if the small nickel sitting in your pocket right now, a coin most people would never look at twice, could actually be worth a life-changing amount of money? Imagine paying for a cup of coffee with a 5-cent coin, only to discover later that collectors were willing to spend thousands, tens of thousands, or even more to own a rare version of that same coin. Now here's where things get interesting. One coin that has sparked countless rumors, treasure hunting stories, and collector excitement is the 1995 P. Thomas Jefferson Monticello Nickel. Some headlines and online claims have suggested values reaching unbelievable figures, even mentioning numbers as high as $2 million. But is there any truth behind those claims? And could a 1995 nickel really be hiding a fortune? Let's uncover the fascinating story behind one of America's most recognizable coins. The Jefferson Nickel has been a part of everyday American life since 1938. It replaced the Buffalo nickel and was created to honor one of the most influential figures in United States history, Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was more than just a president. He was a philosopher, diplomat, architect, and the principal author of the Declaration of Independence. His influence helped shape the young nation, making him an obvious choice for a coin that Americans would handle every day. On the front of the nickel, Jefferson's portrait appears in a dignified profile. On the reverse sits Monticello, his famous Virginia estate. This elegant mansion became one of the most recognizable images ever placed on American coinage. By 1995, the Jefferson Nickel had already been circulating for nearly 6 decades. Millions of Americans used these coins without giving them much thought. That year, the Philadelphia Mint produced an astonishing number of nickels. More than 1.6 billion 1995 P nickels were struck. Think about that for a second. 1.6 billion. That's enough coins to fill countless bank vaults and circulate across every corner of the country. With such an enormous production number, you might assume these coins are completely ordinary. And for the most part, you'd be right. Most 1995 P nickels are worth exactly 5 cents. But the coin collecting world has a funny way of turning ordinary objects into extraordinary treasures. Sometimes a tiny mistake at the mint can transform a common coin into something collectors desperately want. Other times, exceptional preservation can make a coin incredibly valuable. And occasionally, a coin develops a mystery that keeps collectors searching for decades. The 1995 P nickel sits right in the middle of this fascinating world. When collectors examine these coins, they aren't simply looking at the date. They're hunting for something unusual, a rare error, a unique variety, a flawless condition, something that separates one coin from the billions of others. One of the biggest factors affecting value is condition. Imagine 2 identical nickels struck on the same day. One spends decades rattling around in pockets, cash registers, vending machines, and couch cushions. The other is carefully preserved from the moment it leaves the mint. Years later, the first coin might be scratched, worn, and dull. The second could still look nearly brand new. To collectors, that difference matters enormously. Professional grading companies evaluate coins using a numerical scale. The higher the grade, the rarer the coin becomes. While ordinary circulated 1995 P nickels remain worth only face value, pristine examples with exceptionally high grades have sold for surprisingly strong prices. Some top-graded specimens have reached hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. That's already an incredible leap from a simple 5-cent coin. But what about the famous $2 million claim? This is where reality becomes important. As of today, there is no verified record of a standard 1995 P Jefferson nickel selling for $2 million. None. The vast majority of such claims come from misleading headlines, internet rumors, exaggerated social media posts, or misunderstandings involving extremely rare error coins. Yet that doesn't mean the search is pointless. In fact, some of the most valuable coins in American history were discovered in circulation. People have found rare wheat pennies, valuable quarters, and important mint errors hiding in pocket change. The possibility of discovery is what keeps treasure hunters searching. And sometimes extraordinary finds really do happen. Consider mint errors. During the coin-making process, countless steps must happen perfectly. Planchets must be prepared correctly. Dies must be aligned properly. Strikes must occur with precision. When something goes wrong, unusual coins can emerge. Collectors prize these mistakes because they are accidental and often extremely rare. A doubled design, an off-center strike, clipped planchet, a dramatic die error. These unusual characteristics can transform a common coin into a highly desirable collectible. Could a rare 1995 P nickel error be worth significant money? Absolutely. Depending on the rarity and severity of the error, values can climb dramatically. That's why experienced collectors inspect every detail under magnification. A coin that appears ordinary at first glance may reveal something extraordinary under closer examination. But the story of the 1995 P nickel goes beyond money. It also represents a snapshot of America during the mid-1990s. Think back to that era. The internet was beginning to enter everyday life. Cell phones were growing in popularity. Technology was rapidly changing the world. Yet through all those transformations, the humble nickel remained a constant companion in people's pockets. Millions of these coins passed through grocery stores, gas stations, diners, arcades, and shopping malls. Each one became a tiny witness to daily American life. That connection to history is part of what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Every coin tells a story, not just about the people who designed it or minted it, but also about the countless hands that carried it. Who spent this nickel? Where did it travel? What purchases did it help make? Those questions may never be answered, but they give each coin a sense of mystery. For many collectors, that mystery is worth more than the coin itself. And perhaps that's why stories about million-dollar nickels spread so quickly. People love the idea that hidden treasure might be sitting unnoticed in a jar of spare change. It's a modern treasure hunt. No pirate maps. No buried chests. Just ordinary coins waiting to be examined. The truth is that most 1995 Jefferson Nickels won't make anyone a millionaire. But the excitement comes from the possibility. The possibility that one unusual coin escaped the mint. The possibility that an overlooked error survived decades in circulation. The possibility that something seemingly insignificant could become something remarkable. That's the magic of coin collecting. It teaches us to pay attention to details others ignore, to look closer, to stay curious, to recognize that history often hides in plain sight. And sometimes that history can be surprisingly valuable. So the next time you receive a handful of change, don't rush to spend it. Take a closer look. Check the dates. Inspect the mint marks. Examine the details. Because while your 1995 Jefferson Nickel probably won't be worth $2 million, it could still hold a fascinating story, a collectible surprise, or perhaps even a valuable mint error waiting to be discovered. After all, every great treasure hunt begins with a single find. And who knows? The next remarkable coin discovery might already be sitting in your pocket right now. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of hidden coin treasures, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment telling us the most interesting coin you've ever found, and share this video with fellow treasure hunters, because the next incredible discovery could be just one coin away. What if the next coin hiding in your pocket could spark dreams of $1 million discovery? Imagine reaching into your change jar, pulling out an ordinary-looking nickel, and realizing that millions of people have handled the exact same type of coin without ever giving it a second glance. Yet among those countless nickels, a few stand out. A few tell fascinating stories. And one of the most intriguing is the 1996 Jefferson Nickel. At first glance, there's nothing dramatic about it. No gold, no glittering gemstones, no royal portrait from a lost empire. Just a small 5-cent coin struck in Denver in 1996. But sometimes the most ordinary objects hide the most extraordinary stories. To understand why collectors still search through rolls of nickels looking for special examples, we need to travel back to the 1990s. The year was 1996. The internet was beginning to transform daily life. Cell phones were becoming more common. The world was rapidly changing, yet Americans still relied heavily on cash for everyday purchases. Every cup of coffee, every newspaper, every vending machine snack depended on coins moving constantly through the economy. Among them was the Jefferson Nickel. The Jefferson Nickel first appeared in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel. The design featured Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers and the third president of the United States. On the reverse side appeared Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia home. For decades, this design became one of the most recognizable coins in America. By 1996, the United States Mint had already produced billions of Jefferson Nickels. The Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark, was responsible for striking enormous quantities that year. More than 800 million 1996 D nickels were produced. Think about that number for a moment. If you stacked those coins on top of one another, the tower would stretch far beyond the atmosphere. With such a massive mintage, you might assume the coin could never be valuable. And for most examples, that's true. Most 1996 D nickels are worth exactly 5 cents. So why do collectors continue searching for them? Because in the world of coin collecting, rarity isn't always created at the moment a coin is minted. Sometimes rarity develops over time. As years pass, coins become scratched, worn, damaged, bent, cleaned, or simply lost.
Millions disappear from circulation forever.
Finding a perfectly preserved example decades later becomes surprisingly difficult. This is where the story gets interesting. Imagine two nickels struck by the same machine on the same day in 1996. One enters circulation immediately. It travels through cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, and countless pockets. After years of use, its details become worn. The other is carefully saved. Perhaps a collector placed it in a protective holder moments after it left the mint. Decades later, that preserved coin may be dramatically more valuable than its circulated twin. Why? Condition. Condition is everything. Professional grading services evaluate coins using a detailed scale. The highest grades are incredibly difficult to achieve. Tiny imperfections invisible to the average person can prevent a coin from reaching the top. A 1996 D nickel in average circulated condition is common. But an elite example with exceptional strike quality, brilliant luster, and nearly flawless surfaces can command surprisingly strong prices among collectors competing for the finest known specimens. And then there are errors. Coin errors are the treasure hunter's dream. These mistakes occur during the minting process and can transform ordinary coins into collector favorites. A doubled design, an off-center strike, clipped planchet,
A dramatic decrack.
These unusual mistakes create one-of-a-kind stories frozen in metal. Most coins are produced exactly as intended. Errors are the exceptions. And sometimes those exceptions become highly sought after. This possibility fuels the excitement of searching through coin rolls. Every nickel becomes a mystery. Every handful of change becomes an opportunity. What if the next coin contains a rare minting mistake? What if a valuable variety has gone unnoticed for years? What if someone unknowingly spent a coin worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars? Questions like these keep collectors searching. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of the 1996 D Jefferson Nickel isn't its market value. It's what the coin represents. Think about where these nickels have traveled. Some may have bought a child's first candy bar. Others may have paid for a phone call in an era before smartphones. Some may have crossed the country countless times, passing from hand to hand, witnessing thousands of personal stories. Coins are silent historians. They move through society unnoticed, recording economic activity without ever speaking a word. The 1996 D nickel is a tiny time capsule from a specific moment in American history. A moment when digital payments had not yet conquered everyday commerce. A moment when loose change still filled pockets everywhere. And yet, one mystery remains. How many exceptional 1996 D nickels are still hiding in circulation? No one knows. Perhaps a high-grade example sits forgotten in a dresser drawer. Perhaps an unusual error coin waits inside an old coin jar. Perhaps a future collector will make an exciting discovery tomorrow. That uncertainty is part of what makes coin collecting so addictive. Unlike many hobbies, the treasure hunt never truly ends. The next great find could appear at any moment. The next valuable coin could arrive as ordinary change. The next hidden story could already be sitting in your home. And while claims of ordinary 1996 D nickels being worth millions of dollars make exciting headlines, the real story is even more interesting. The true value lies in the hunt, the history, the mystery, and the possibility that an object most people ignore could reveal something remarkable. So the next time you receive a nickel, don't spend it too quickly. Take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Examine the details. Because every coin carries a story. Most stories are common. Some are rare. And a few become legendary. The question is simple. What stories are hiding in your pocket right now? What if I told you that a simple 5-cent coin sitting in a forgotten jar, tucked inside an old drawer, or hiding in your pocket change could send thousands of people into a frenzy searching for treasure? Now, before you start imagining private islands and luxury yachts, let's talk about one of the most misunderstood coins on the internet, the 1998 D. Thomas Jefferson Nickel. You've probably seen wild claims online saying this coin is worth millions of dollars. Some headlines even suggest values as high as $8 million. But is there any truth behind those astonishing numbers? And why are collectors still paying close attention to certain examples of this ordinary-looking nickel? The answer is far more fascinating than most people realize. To understand the story, we need to travel back to 1998. The United States was approaching the end of the 20th century. The internet was beginning to change everyday life. Cell phones were becoming more common. Yet while technology was racing forward, the U.S. Mint continued producing one of America's most familiar coins, the Jefferson Nickel. The Jefferson Nickel had already been part of American life for nearly 60 years. First introduced in 1938, it replaced the Buffalo nickel and featured the image of Thomas Jefferson, one of the nation's founding fathers and the third president of the United States. On the reverse side appeared Monticello, Jefferson's famous Virginia estate. For generations of Americans, this design became instantly recognizable. In 1998, millions upon millions of nickels rolled off the presses. Among them were nickels struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark located beside Jefferson's portrait. At first glance, there was absolutely nothing extraordinary about them. They were made primarily from a copper-nickel alloy, just like other modern nickels. They entered circulation through banks, cash registers, vending machines, and pockets across the country. Most people spent them without a second thought. But that is where the mystery begins. If millions were produced, why are collectors still talking about the 1998 D nickel decades later? The answer lies in a fascinating truth of coin collecting. Sometimes the most valuable treasures aren't rare because few were made. They're rare because very few survived in exceptional condition. Think about it. Every time a coin changes hands, it picks up tiny scratches, dents, and marks. It gets tossed into drawers, dropped on counters, and rattled around in pockets with other coins. Over time, even a common coin becomes worn. Now imagine finding a 1998 D nickel that somehow escaped all of that damage. Imagine one that looks almost exactly as it did the day it left the mint. Collectors call these high-grade examples, and they can command surprisingly strong prices compared to ordinary circulated coins. Most 1998 D nickels are worth only face value or a small premium. But the finest known examples, especially those certified in elite mint state grades, have sold for hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars. That may not sound as exciting as $8 million, but in reality, turning a 5-cent coin into hundreds or thousands of dollars is still an incredible story. And there is another twist. Coin collectors are obsessed with perfection. A tiny difference invisible to an untrained eye can mean the difference between a common coin and a highly desirable collectible. One small mark, one faint scratch, one weak strike. Any of these can dramatically affect value. This pursuit of perfection creates a treasure hunt unlike any other. Some collectors search through thousands of nickels hoping to discover a hidden gem that everyone else overlooked. And occasionally those searches pay off. But condition isn't the only thing collectors look for. Errors and varieties add another layer of excitement. Throughout U.S. Mint history, small mistakes have created some of the most valuable coins ever discovered. A doubled design, an off-center strike, a missing element. These accidents transform ordinary coins into legendary collectibles. Although major error examples involving the 1998 D nickel are uncommon, collectors constantly inspect them for unusual characteristics. That's because every coin tells a story, and sometimes that story includes an unexpected mistake made during production. Imagine being the first person to discover a previously unknown variety. Imagine realizing that the nickel you've carried for years might be unlike any other. That possibility keeps collectors searching. But the story of the 1998 D nickel isn't only about money. It's also about Thomas Jefferson himself. Jefferson remains one of the most influential figures in American history. He was the principal author of the Declaration of Independence and played a critical role in shaping the early United States. His vision, achievements, and contradictions continue to be studied and debated centuries later. Every Jefferson nickel serves as a tiny piece of historical memory. Millions of people handle these coins without stopping to think about the man whose portrait appears on them. Yet each nickel connects modern Americans to the nation's founding era. And then there is Monticello. The elegant building on the reverse side represents more than architecture. It symbolizes Jefferson's interests in science, design, agriculture, and innovation. For decades, Americans carried a miniature image of this historic estate in their pockets every day. That cultural significance gives the coin meaning beyond its face value. Now let's return to the million-dollar question. Where did the $8 million rumor come from? The truth is that internet stories often combine misunderstandings, auction headlines, grading information, and speculation. A coin may be listed online for an outrageous amount, but a listing price is not the same as an actual sale. Other times, people confuse one coin with an entirely different rarity. These stories spread rapidly because everyone loves the idea of discovering life-changing wealth in everyday change. And honestly, who wouldn't? The dream is irresistible. A forgotten coin, a lucky discovery, a hidden treasure waiting to be found. That dream has fueled collecting for generations. But experienced collectors understand an important lesson. The real excitement comes from knowledge. Knowing what to look for, understanding condition, recognizing rarity, learning history. The more you know, the more opportunities you create. That's why some of the most successful collectors spend countless hours studying coins rather than simply hoping for luck. They know that treasure favors the prepared eye. So if you happen to find a 1998 D Jefferson Nickel, should you get excited? Absolutely. Examine it carefully. Look at its condition. Check for unusual features. Compare it with other examples. If it appears exceptionally well preserved, consider having it evaluated by experts. You may not have an $8 million coin, but you could still have something far more interesting than an ordinary nickel. Because every collectible begins with a story, and sometimes the most captivating stories start with the smallest objects. A coin worth 5 cents. A coin that passed through countless hands. A coin that survived decades of circulation. A coin that reminds us that history is often hiding in plain sight. The next time you receive change, take a closer look. You might discover a piece of American history. You might uncover a remarkable collectible. Or you might simply gain a deeper appreciation for the tiny artifacts that travel through our lives every day. And perhaps that's the greatest treasure of all. Because the 1998 D Jefferson Nickel proves that value isn't always measured in millions of dollars. Sometimes value is measured in history, curiosity, and the thrill of discovery. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found an unusual coin in your pocket change? Do you own a 1998 D Jefferson Nickel? And what is the most valuable coin you've ever discovered? Share your story in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the world of hidden treasures and rare coins, be sure to subscribe and join us for more incredible coin mysteries, forgotten history, and fascinating discoveries that could be hiding right in your own collection.